Well, the weekend is over. We just start Monday, as always, the most boring day of the week. But however, here in DWZ, the Leader Wrestle Zone, we try not to keep it boring for everyone. So today, as you know, we'll be reviewing some interesting events. The first one's going to be by Deadlock Pro Wrestling DPW with World's Strongest, where we have, of course, the women's championship and the a world championship on the line, a number one contendership match, and of course a very special tag team match where we see the Best Bros making their debut as a tag team. We even got the latest ChocoPro event, 271 with 3 matches. This is prior before Meishiru made her return back to Japan. Then we move on with, of course, New Japan Pro Wrestling. As you know, they've begun with day one of World Tag League and Best of the Super Juniors. And finally, we got AEW Dark Elevation. And of course, we're going to be talking about several news updates, what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling. Now, before I proceed, I want to dedicate this episode to Jason David Frank. Now, those who don't know who he is, those who do, you guys probably know what I'm talking about. Those who don't know who Jason David Frank is, he is the original Green Ranger for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I was very saddened to hear about his passing. I met the guy back in 2014 at the San Diego Comic Con, where I was working, and he was nice, a very nice individual. Even many wrestlers who I know were hurt. If you guys ever seen Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods dressed up as the Green and the White Ranger, which he played a White Ranger back then, and that sort of thing. And other wrestlers have met him before, so it's saddened to hear about his passing. We know he's also he's a wrestling fan too. He attended several smaller independent shows. So, so rest in peace, Jason there, Frank. You will be missed, but not forgotten. This episode is dedicated to you.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to the Lead It Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J Rod here. So let's begin with Deadlock Pro Wrestling, or DPW, with World's Strongest. It took place on the 12th of November. It opened up with LeBron Kozone taking on SB Kento. Now, I have to say, this was a good opener. I think it was a really good one because I was like impressed. Many people were behind SB Kento, despite that he's a heel in Japan, but SB Kento continues to impress everyone. He really did an amazing roll up in order for him to pick up the win. Second match, we have Hyan versus Sumi Sakai. Now, Hyan, as you know, had faced Sumi Sakai before and lost. But the obvious question is, could she overcome that loss she had with Sumi Sakai? Well, only time will tell. But this one was very impressive. No matter what Hyan tried to do, Sumi Sakai would not stay down. And the same thing with Hyan. But in the end, it was, of course, Sumi Sakai with the Saki special that allowed her to win the match. Next up, we got Adam Pearce versus Jackson Drake. Adam Pearce was a total prick the entire time, but I have to say Jackson Drake really impressed. I was like amazed by Jackson Drake, but unfortunately he ended up in the Boston Crabs in the hands of Adam Pearce. Now our next match, we have Miles Mason and Donnie Ray taking on the Workhorsemen. Man, the Workhorsemen, as you know, they continue to impress me with their methods, how they are two different wrestlers. But I think this one showed a lot. Excuse me, showed a lot. But however, it was JD Drake of the Workhorsemen that picked up the win when he applied the moonsault onto Donnie Ray, and boom, they pick up the W. Now the next match we have Jay Malachi versus BK Westbrook. Now these two know each other pretty well. As BK Westbrook was trying to get Malachi to get on the bandwagon that he deserves to be a much bigger star, but Malachi has proven he can be a bigger star without him. So this is more like, okay, who's gonna walk out as the bigger star? And I thought it was a pretty good story, but it was Malachi with the Malai cutter onto to BK Westbrook. 1, 2, 3, it's over. Next up, we have the DPW Women's Championship. We have KZT versus Rochelle Rose. This is another good match. You know, KZT has proven time and time that she deserves to be in the women's division. But however, Rochelle Rose, who has demonstrated how good that her dominance, she picked up the win by applying the off with your heads onto ZXT, and boom, that's it. Now our next match is a very special match. We have Andrew Everett teaming up again with what's her name? With Miyuki Takase to take on the Best Bros, Balinaki, and of course Mei Shuga. I thought it was a pretty good match. I enjoyed this match a lot. There was some great moments, especially when they chokeslam Andrew Everett. But however, it was a how do I say this? A very big lariat by Takase, but it was a pinfall made by Everett to pick up the win. Mei Shuga did not like that, but unfortunately, the match ended in Everett and Takase's favor. Now, our next match, we have number one contendership for the DPW women's title. We have Jungle Kiona versus Emi Sakura. To be fair, I was kind of hoping Jungle Kiona. I know in the past she hasn't won a singles competition. We know she has done it with tag team, but this was a perfect stool for him. But however, she has to face a veteran like Emi Sakura. But Emi Sakura with the ice driver picked up the win for her and become the new number one contenders. Now, the women's championship match was supposed to be the main event. However, Bo Jackson, the world heavyweight champion, was pissed off that Lucky Ali was trying to get into his nerve, so they decided to proceed with the match on ahead. But however, Kid Bandit, of course, decided to cash in his little box where he will get an opportunity for the title, and I think that kind of sets the whole thing. It kind of went in different directions. Lucky Ali hates Kid Bandit, believes that he should not be, doesn't deserve to be there, but he worked his butt off. But however, it was Kid Cash who ended up on the wrong side of what's his name, of Lucky Ali's finisher, allowing for him to become the brand new DPW World Champion. But however, Bojack was not happy with how things went down. Basically, it would have been a lot easier if it was 1-on-1, but no. Someone says that I'm cashing in this whole thing, so that's the whole thing. I think that's pretty much it right now. I say it's time for ChocoPro. Okay, ChocoPro 271 opened up with a very interesting match. We have Mia Yotsuba facing off against Mei Shuga. Now, the reason I say this one is so interesting, let's give it a little talk about this one and to make a perspective what I'm talking about. Mia Yotsuba is one of the newest girls in Got to Move slash ChocoPro. She is one of the few right now who were never trained by Emi Sakura. The one person that trained her is her opponent, Mei Shuga. So this is more of the test between teacher versus student. So we're going to see how Mia has grown up now. Can Mia defeat her teacher, or once again, the teacher put the student in her place? I think that's a great story to tell because, sometimes we have seen one of those students that try to say, F you, I know I can be better than that sort of thing. We all seen that sort of thing before. So, but I have to say, Mia does have a bit of a fighting spirit, no doubt about that. But it's Meishuga's attitude that you probably can guess. If you guys know what I'm talking about, sometimes she likes to go a little overboard, even when her best bro, Balinaki, tried to tell her, May, stop it. But since he's not there, that's a bit of the issue. But however, it took an insight cradled by Meishuga to pick up the win. I think in this matter, Mia could have won, but it's the smarts of the teacher that outweighs the student. I think that's what I like about that. So, better luck next time, Mia. Next up, we got tag team action. We got Sayaka Ubehiro and Shin Suzuki taking on Tokiko Kirihara and Antonio Honda. Now, you know this type of match, how it is between those. When it comes to Antonio Honda, he is a bit of a maverick. He goes in a different type of direction, throws in a bit of comedy. Don't forget, he likes to mesmerize people while he plays his little guitar, but that always plays out. But however, one of the most interesting developments is how Antonio Honda tried to hold on against Sayaka, but able to put up some kind of a driver type move onto her, and then boom, it was over right from there. 1, 2, 3, adios. Now our final match is Chiko Shikawa, Too Much Energy, taking on Masahiro Takanashi. Now, this is not the first time these two have tangled with each other. They have teamed up before in the past, but however, facing off each other, that's a different story. Chiko Shikawa is not afraid of the challenge on who gets in the way, if it's Mei Shuga or is it Yuna Mizumori or anybody. I think he's more interested in facing the much tougher competitors, the ones that we know they can pull up the win. But however, Masa has a far more better experience than she, but in this case, it goes in its own way. However, I have to say this is one of the best performances that Chiko Shikawa has ever been in, but sadly, she ended up in a submission by Masahiro Takanashi and lost. But I have to say, she is getting a bit more better and better. I think she is one of those that we know she could succeed, but it'll take some time. And as for our last thing was Junkin tournament. I didn't know how this won, but I can tell you who won. Antonio Honda. He made it all the way through by defeating Masahiro Takanashi. I thought it was a pretty good fun Junkin, but we'll see what happens possibly in the next one. Excuse me. But right now, let's move on with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Okay, New Japan Pro Wrestling. This is a very interesting development. As you know, they're going to have both tag team tournaments in the same tour. We have World Tag League and Super Junior Tag League. Now, before I proceed, some of you may question what is the difference between both tournaments. World Tag League will only focus on those who are heavyweight competitors. So that means like getting the titles that are the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team titles that are currently being held by none other than Top Guys FTR. So that's how it goes. As for Super Junior Tag League, that is all about the junior heavyweight competitors, and the current tag team champions are none other than uh, Francesco Akira and TJP of the United Empire. So that's the difference. But basically, they're gonna have interact preview matches that will lead to World Tag League, and then of course the same thing. So we'll see how that goes. So let's begin with our first day that took place. This is day one recently. They open up with Young Lions taking the place. We have Kosa Fujita and Yuto Nakajima. Now we have seen the Young Lions open up these type of events before, but we've seen a lot of improvements. Now Kosa Fujita is one of those that I have been paying attention. He seems most likely he can improve, and the only way he did that for this particular match, he applied the Boston Crab onto Nakajima and over. So he picked up by submission. Now we got another interesting development. Other members of the Young Lions, we have Oscar Luby and Rohi Oiwa team up with GBH, Tomoaki Hamna, and Toki Makabe to take on the members of United Empire. And of course, we have to listen to that weasel Gideon Gray. We have Aussie Open, Kyle Fletcher, and Mark Davis teaming up with the Great Okan and Aaron Hinare. So this would have been a much easy match, but however, I kind of figured that this is going to end with a young lion, and it ended up with the Coloriolis by Aussie Open, and Oscar was the one who took the fall and to pick up the win. Now, this is a momentum right now being built. Those who are saying that, of course, Aussie Open could be one of those potential wrestlers to win World Tag League. So we'll see when we get there. Next up, we have members of Suzuki-gun, El Desperado, Taichi, Minoru Suzuki, taking on Hiromu Takahashi, Shingo Takagi, and Tetsuya Naito. Now, this is a very interesting development. What I like about this is that before the bell rings, Taichi is giving Despy so much shit after what happened at the historical crossover. Now, if you guys don't know what I'm referring to, I'm going to say this right now. Taichi Kanemaru, along with Tam Nakano and Natsupoi, they ended up on the cover of Weekly Pro Wrestling. It's a magazine that is in Japan, and of course, Taichi's trying to say, see, hey, we're on the cover, not you. And he reminds him. So that kind of, I like how Taichi's like taking full control, but they know they're in the match. But their opponent is none other than, of course, LIJ. Now, this match completely went out of the rails. Now, there's no there's no secret that Minoru Suzuki and Naito have some bit of history. We know there's been some type of a new feud between both Shingo Takagi and Taichi for the KOP Championship. And of course, we cannot forget Hiromu and Despy. They will be part of that four-way matchup at Wrestle Kingdom. But in the result of egos getting away, ended up in a double countout. So, kind of crazy. Okay, now we jump into the Super Junior Tag League matches. We have 5 of them so far. The first one we have is El Lindaman teaming up with Alex Zane versus Kevin Knight and Kushida. Now, to make a note on this, El Lindaman and Alex Zane actually do know each other. There was a moment where, of course, in GLEAT, Alex Zane was an honorary member of Strong Hearts. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he does become a member of Strong Hearts. But it was a pretty good matchup. And of course, Kevin Knight and Kushida, I don't know if they interacted, but I know for a fact that Kevin Knight will be in good hands with Kushida, as you know, because Kushida is one of the most impressive, well-recognized junior heavyweight competitors in New Japan. But unfortunately, it was the cinnamon twist by Alex Zane onto Kevin Knight to pick up the win for their team. So I'm going to presume that this is their first win. We'll see how that goes. Now, the next one, we got members of Suzuki-gun, Doiki and Yoshinobu Kanemaru. Even though they were opponents the other day at Historic Crossover, I thought this is going to be interesting. Their opponent is none other than Clark Connors and Ryusuke Taguchi. Now, this is a very odd pairing, but as you know, Taguchi, he likes to have a bit of fun. He dressed up like he thinks he's on a wild safari with a rhino. So it was a lot of fun, but I have to say it was a pretty good one. However, I think this is something that Clark Connor needs. He picked up the win for his team by applying a somewhat of a power slam type maneuver and boom, giving them the win. Next up, we got the House of Torture, Dick Togo and Show taking on the Flying Tigers, Tiger Mask, and of course Robbie Eagles. I have to say this was a pretty good match, but of course X Factor. Whenever those two are there, we know who's behind. The other members of House of Torture, Evil and Evil and Yujiro. But luckily, Flying Tigers took care of those guys. It took the Ron Miller special onto Dick Togo for him to tap out. So this is a good match. So I have to say, I could definitely see the Flying Tigers be potential winners on this one. Now our next match, we have the Bullet Club members consistent of Chris Bay and Ace Austin. Now keep in mind, this is Chris Bay being first time in Japan and being part of a tournament that they ever put in. This is not Ace. This is Ace Austin's second time returning. As you know, he was part of the best of the Super Juniors, but he did not make it all the way through. He was one of those potentials that we did believe that he could win. But they face off against LIJ's Titan and Bushi. Now, Titan and Bushi, in my opinion, they are one of those wrestlers I know for a fact they could pick up the win. But unfortunately, in this particular match, they did not. Um, as you know, Chris Bay and Ace Austin have developed great chemistry outside of New Japan, especially when they're in Impact. And I think they kind of played out pretty well on that. So it was the art of finesse off from Ace Austin that picked up the win on Bushi. 1, 2, 3, it's over. Just like that. So that's how it is. Now our next match we have members of Chaos, Leo Rush and Yo taking on Catch 22. I think that's what they call themselves. Francesco Cara and TJP of the United Empire. I have to say it was a pretty good match, but I have to say in this one, Rush and Yo gave um, Akira and TJP a run for their money. They thought this match was going to be easy, but it wasn't. It showed that these guys are being serious. Now, there's no doubt that, of course, Akira and TJP could potentially win the tournament, but I have to say, with Leo Rush and Yo, they could also be one of those. If they pick up the next win, it could show, okay, we could see something special right there. So that's how it is. So everybody who wins their match today gets their first 2 points. I believe that's how it goes. But we'll go from there from then on. So they will be at day 2 real soon, and I'll be reviewing that the next episode. So let's move on to our next and final review, AEW Dark Elevation. Okay, our final review, AEW Dark Elevation, opened up with trios action. We got the Butcher and the Blade teaming up with Roosh to take on Doug Love, Channing Thomas, and Brett Gosselin. Hopefully I pronounced that right. But you probably can guess this one ended with the Butcher and the Blade and Roosh, but it was Roosh who picked up the win by applying. You get the bulls, you get the bull, the horns right there, that finisher that he always does. He did that on Doug Love. 1, 2, 3, it's over. Next up, we got women's tag team action. We have Leva Bates teaming up with Emi Sakura, but Emi Sakura was not having it. I don't think she likes her, but she may need her because a very interesting duo teamed up for the first time. We have Hikaru Shida teaming up with Willow Nightingale, who is the latest signee of the roster. I thought this was a pretty good match because I did like how Willow and Shida have gotten along. You know, Willow's the kind of person you can tell she can get along with anybody she teams up with. But in this case, it was Shida with the final blow onto Leva Bates with the katana. 1, 2, 3. Good night. Now, our next one, you can call it as a squash match if you like. We have Brandon Cutler taking on Brian Cage. This one ended in a somewhat of an F5 type of finisher that probably like Brock Lesnar does. So you can guess it, but that's how it rolls out. Now, our next match, we have members of the Jericho Appreciation Society, Matt Menard, Angela Parker, and Daniel Garcia taking on Leon Ruffin, Tracy Williams, and Tony Deppen. So this is a very interesting. 2 of these members used to be former Ring of Honor pure champions, but now it's very interesting. But it was Daniel Garcia with the sleeper, Dragon Sleeper, onto Leo Ruffin to pick up the win. Next up, we got Zach Clayton, who calls himself the Reality Check, or whatever he calls himself, taking on a very much violent Wheeler Yuta. We ask ourselves, is he in good state of mind after what happened in Full Gear? We don't know, but Wheeler Yuta did apply the seatbelt onto Zach Clayton to pick up the win. Next up, we got the Trustbusters, mostly a Sunny Kiss with Ari Daivari, paid 50 G's to Encore if they win their match against Matt Hardy and Private Party. You can guess this match didn't go exactly according to plan because, of course, Isaiah Cassidy applied the Swanton Bomb onto Encore to pick up the win. But that doesn't end there. In post-match, Hardy gave Ari Daivari the Twist of Fate, even though he was told that he wasn't going to, that he can't do that. But he got the 50 G's and got paid out. But as soon as that happened, it did show in the end when Ethan Page was, they were trying to inform him that Hardy violated the rules. And of course, they got under the skin of Ethan Page and the firm. So I think they're now trying to tell them, we don't care. So that's a good story to tell. So it looks like we're dealing with a bit of the rebellion within the firm. Now, our next match, we have a bit of a rematch between Kip Sabian and Alex Reynolds. The last time these two tangled was about a couple of weeks ago when Kip Sabian won the match, but now this is a very good one. But I was surprised that this match ended up this time in reverse with Alex Reynolds winning, but Kip Sabian did not take that. Now, I wouldn't be surprised after this match we could see a rubber match. So that could be the most likely scenario that could happen between these two. But we just got to wait and see if that's the case. I wouldn't be surprised even they put this either on Dark or Dark Elevation. One of the two. We'll see about that. Now, our final match, we have the Best Friends and Orange Cassidy coming out, but they were attacked by the members of the factory. And of course, they're trying to warn them out, but it did not seem to work for all of them. They were facing Cole Carter, Lee Johnson, and Aaron Solo, but unfortunately, it did not end well for the factory. Once again, the Best Friends and Orange Cassidy picked up the huge win. So it was over right from there. So you got to give the people what they want. So I think that's pretty much it with the reviews. Let's move on with news updates. Okay, welcome to the news updates. Wrestling Revolver announced that for their final season pay-per-view that took place on the 3rd of December will feature the return of Dad Scout, consistent of Dan the Dad and Man Scout Jake Manning. Now, this is a team that was assembled mid in the summer when they were taking out against Infrared. I think this was a very fun tag team, so I'm happy that they're back together, and let's see who their opponents will be, and I'll be keeping a prize on this one. Now, we have a very interesting show taking place in Japan. Now, if you guys remember completely, I reviewed a DDT event where they were doing their event on a train. Yeah, and it appears there's I don't know if there's a promotion or what they're calling it, Pro Wrestling Train. And they're wrestling inside of a train. They're in showcasing this on a JR Kuduri line in Chiba. I don't know how that works, but I'm putting this out there because I don't know. I feel this is something I did not see. I mean, I don't mind if DDT do these wacky shows all the time, but this is next level. So I will keep a prize on this one if there's more information. Now, interesting developments on two different pay-per-views for this year in Stardom. The first one, of course, is the Showcase Volume 3 that will take place later on this month on 26th. For them, we're going to have a beauty salon zest. Basically, there's going to be a four-way match between Himeka, Sai Kamitani, Lady C, and Momokogo. The winner will get a haircut at the saloon. And of course, they're saying that shampoo is legal to be used during the match. I don't know how I feel about this, but I'll see I'll give it a try. Now, the two matches have been announced for their upcoming Ryogoku event in Dream Queensdom on the 29th of December. We do have, of course, the red belt, the Wonder of Stardom Championship will be on the line. We have Shuri versus Julia. This is going to be a match that, of course, if Shuri survives it, then she proves that she is next level, because, as you know, she is trying to breaking the defense record. So I think that kind of said. I think she's right now 9 at this point. But the next match is a special match between Kairi and Utami Ashita. This come about right after when Kairi won the IWGP Women's Championship at the historic crossover Utami seems like she wanted to have a shot at that title, but we all know who beat her to it, and that is Tam. But at the moment, Utami will put that on the back burner for the time being, but focus on having a singles match with her. So I have to say that's a very interesting story they're developing on that. Now, for those who are uh, Shinjiro Otani fans, interesting developments. If you guys remember, not too long ago, there was a bit of an accident that took place during a Pro Wrestling Zero match. He ended up unconscious or whatever. Apparently, they're saying that the respirator was removed. He has been improving a lot, but however, he is still remained paralyzed from neck down. So we don't know for sure what is going to happen soon. We know that he would like to. We don't know if he's getting therapy to learn how to walk again, but we'll see how that goes. Prayers will be given to Otani. Hopefully, he recovers fully. But if he cannot wrestle again, this is this is going to be a very interesting developments going on. I hate to say that, but anyway, moving on. DeFi Wrestling has announced for their upcoming event, Fight Wave. As you know, interesting developments took place at Kingdom Come with the return of their champion who they haven't seen in 3 years. Apparently, there's going to be some sort of match involving that. Davey Richards has been announced as the first entrant, so that's going to be something we definitely going to be paying attention to. Now, our next update here. This one is a very interesting one. House of Glory has announced for their upcoming pay per view on the 17th of December. Revelations. Nick Aldis makes his appearance. Now, this is something I did not anticipate. We know that he had issues towards NWA because of his not seeing eye to eye with Billy Corgan. Makes you wonder what is his purpose being there. I'm kind of curious, but we'll see what happens as things are getting closer and closer. Now, if you guys are AEW fans, you may have heard that Tomohiro Ishii is going to face Chris Jericho for the Ring of Honor World Championship. But Chris Jericho had some interesting comments he said about Ishii, saying that, he will always be that young boy that he knows. But Ishii responded recently. I haven't seen the latest day two of the World Tag League, but this is what he had to say. Chris Jericho, November 23rd, can't come soon enough. Even going back to the days of war, Wrestling Association, something I forgot what to call it. I never once admired you. Don't get it twisted, jackass. So basically, what he's saying is Jericho is saying that he should respect them because he's a far more better plant, but Ishii's not going to take that crap. Trust me, he won't. Now, for our final updates, this is coming from GCW. As you know, I cover a lot of the review, what's going on for kind of tell what matches are taking place at what events. So this is what we got. For the one afternoon only, it was already announced that Nick Wayne will be facing Starboy Charlie. And on this Starboy Charlie, this one will be on December 24th. So I'm looking forward to that. Then, of course, for the America's Most Wanted event on the 16th of December, we have Nick Gage putting his GCW World Title on the line against Tony Deppen. That's going to be a very interesting match. Then finally, for one of the doubleheader events for Till Infinity taking place on the 31st of December, we have Mike Bailey taking on Too Cold Scorpio. I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be one heck of a match. So I think that's pretty much it. What we got with our updates here. I believe it's time to call it a day. Well, hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, as you know, we have Tuesday Wrestling taking place, NWA, AEW Dark, and NXT. I will be reviewing day 2 of the World Tag League Best of the Super Juniors. I'm so excited to see what matches will be taking place. Before I go, I think I just remember now. If you guys notice what episode we're in, I failed to mention this earlier because I put I said that I dedicate this episode to Jason David Frank. It's episode 900. I'm like, holy crap. I have no idea how far I've gone. I mean, I've been doing this since what, 2019 with my friend Nico, and I haven't done this with him for a while. I know he had his own thing going, but I kept it going, because I love doing this, reviewing events for all of you and wrestling events. I just love doing this. It makes me wonder, what is the next one going to be like when I reach 1,000? I don't know. I feel like I want to do something for that particular time, but we'll just wait and see. So at the moment, we'll just end it right here, saying we reached a milestone, episode 900, and we'll go from there. So I'll see you guys in next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.